Okay, listener, we are in New York City with a guest, and you know how we always start the podcast, and Pumps and I have been going back and forth about it. When she acts like a eagle,
right,
and says "fuck off," sometimes we feel stupid about it. But you know what? It's Trump's America. Trump's giving blowjobs to Bubba. So here we go: patriots, gay triots, they triots, black triots, brown triots, and the people who try to marginalize those people can do what, Pumps?
Fuck off!
You guys, we have a big time guest in the big city.
We are so excited.
It is Joy-Ann Reid. She is a New York Times bestselling author, documentary film producer, and former MSNBC anchor who in 2020 became the first Black woman to host a primetime news show. She is currently the proprietor of the Joy's House Substack and the host of the Joy Reid Show in an effort to make us look cooler because we have cool guests.
Right.
Joy Reid, welcome to I've Had It.
Thank you so much. Can I just please do a fuck off? I'm like, it's in my spirit.
Do it.
So much.
Do it.
Fuck off!
Yes!
That's good.
I love it.
Love
that
it.
was a good one.
You did good.
Thank you. Well, I've been watching. I love your podcast.
Thank you.
And so it was like, I was like, I cannot get here without having to do a fuck off. I mean, come on.
You have to do a fuck off. Okay, so Joy, I have a couple of amends I have to make to you. Okay, so you and Jim Acosta and Don Lemon, the No Kings March Day, had texted me, hey, will you stream with us? And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. I'll be the reporter on the street. Problem with this is I'm not a reporter. I'm a total Ricky, right? So I'm marching and we're being like, this is what democracy looks like. And so I zoom into you guys and all you can hear all the people around. And Dawn is messaging me like, did you bring earphones? Can you not hear us? Can you turn off, like the echoing? Had no idea. Then for the Zoran Mamdani.
Listen.
Okay. So listener, Joy's producer called me and she's like, hey, can you come on the night of Zoran's victory? I said, I'm actually going to be at the party.
Yeah.
She said, will you live report from there? And I was like, yes. And you think I would have learned my lesson
just getting ready to say.
from the No Kings rally? I would have brought earphones.
Sure.
And so I just want you to know that the third time is going to be the charm. Okay?
If they ask again,
this is not going to be a trifecta failure. I am going to, the next time you ask me to deliver for you, I'm going to be Jennifer Welch reporting from the streets of Manhattan.
I love it.
I'm going to have my earpods.
Okay.
I'm going to be all set and I'm not going to dick anyone over.
I love it.
So my apologies. I'm
a
a Ricky.
I know. And the thing that's so interesting is on the Zoran Mamdani one, our producer, Nithakan, who lives in New York, I was like, you should just show up and go to it, right? Because this is going to be a moment. She's a Muslim woman. I'm like, this is like an emotional thing for her. She wrote a piece for the Substack about it. I'm like, you should just show up because it was already full. We couldn't get a pass to get in. But now kicking myself, I'm like, and I've been doing this for so long, on the journalism side, the lesson is always just do it, right? And so next time, look, Zoran Mamdani, when you get inaugurated, just know that I'm going to have somebody right there and they're getting in. And then with you, we literally ended the live 15 minutes too early because once the doors open, you didn't have your stuff, but then we weren't ready either because we went off. We literally just went off like 15 minutes before. So I'm like, we
next time
Jennifer.
You need to be there. There were a lot of podcasters and mainstream news and our type of news there in the press. So next time we just got to
show up.
You just got to, and I'll be
ready.
Woman on the street.
I am ready.
If you're asked.
Joy, I know.
You'll be asked.
I am going to deliver next time. Okay, Joy Reid, what have you had it with?
Oh my God. Where do I begin? I mean, the first thing I have had it with, and I hate to always start with my own people, but I've had it with the Democrats caving. I've had it with the Democrats soft peddling this autocracy. I've been a Democrat since I was old enough to vote. The first person, I'm gonna age myself. My first vote was a primary vote for Jesse Jackson in 1988. I was so excited. And then I had to vote for the guy with the big old helmet on his head. I had to do it, whatever. Dukakis, right? So that was my first presidential vote. I had no choice. Because that's what
Geraldine
I was left with.
Ferraro.
Yeah. And Geraldine Ferraro. Yeah. That was the first presidential vote because I didn't get Jackson. But my problem with the party has always been they have good intentions. Mm-hmm. They care about people, but they are afraid to use power.
Agree.
And they seem to be allergic to using power. Whereas Republicans don't care about anyone, but they also understand power and they understand how to use it and leverage it. And it frustrates me to be on the side that refuses to fight in the way you need to in an autocracy. So I've had it with that. I want a Mamdani style Democratic Party.
Let me ask you both this. So I read today that AOC and Zoran said that they don't think anybody should primary Hakeem because they don't think the party after these victories should have this type of infighting. And I'm not a very rigid person in my beliefs. I'm open-minded to how can we win? What's going to help us beat these fuckers, beat these fascists? I'm open-minded about all of that. So I'm curious about both of your feedback on that, because my thinking about Hakeem is that he hasn't been the most effective minority leader at all, and the AIPAC situation is so blaring. What's your take on that?
The AIPAC situation is, I went to a meeting of CBC members, and this was in Mississippi, and I didn't get any applause for it, but I told them from the stage, you all have to divorce yourself from AIPAC. You have to divorce AIPAC. Like, that divorce needs to happen now. Because as long as AIPAC money is flowing into your coffers, you're never going to be truly free to tell the truth about our foreign policy. It's not going to ever be acceptable, even to MAGA people, to spend American tax dollars for a genocide.
Right.
It's just not acceptable with Bibi Netanyahu there. So the AIPAC thing is a big problem for me. I like Hakeem Jeffries as a person.
I do too.
He's definitely a more effective leader than Schumer.
That's
no
what I was going to say.
By far, right?
Yeah. He whipped he can
He
whip.
can keep his caucus together.
He can whip.
Schumer, no.
Yeah.
And I think unlike Schumer, he's actually, and I don't mean this in a condescending way, he's teachable. Like, I think you can work with him. You can get him to where he needs to be. And the challenge with a House leader as opposed to a Senate leader, it's a little more complicated. It's why even when people were like, we need to replace Pelosi with a younger person, I wasn't for it. Because I'm like, a House leader is somewhat different. It's a much bigger caucus.
Right.
It's very much dependent on your ability to fundraise for other people and to know everything about their lives in order to be able to know, like, who's got a grandkid coming and what do they need in order to get to where they need to be. To whip those votes is something you couldn't just put a green new person and have them be the speaker, as much as we would like them. So he's been set up for that position for so long that I feel like it would be very difficult to replace him with somebody who would be as effective. I don't know that that's true.
But
I'm
you
not as
kind
eager.
of agree with that he's our leader and we should focus on moving him, evolving him to the base.
Plan A would be move him. But I'm not against primarying anybody. To be honest with you, I'm pro-primary, period. Because I think primaries make you stronger, they make you sharper, they make you focus. And if it's going to take a primary to move him, that's another way to move him.
See, that's what my thought is. I kind of want him to be primary just because I want him to understand we are serious about moving the message, moving off AIPAC. Yeah. We mean it. Chuck Schumer, I would love for him to get an opponent and get beat. But it's different. You asked about Hakeem Jeffries.
I agree. And I think a primary would sharpen the mind of Hakeem Jeffries. Like, he would understand that people are, I hate to say it, but the Democratic Party needs a Tea Party movement.
Yes.
They need a Tea Party movement. And it's like, it's time to have, the only reason we have an AOC is a primary,
Right.
It's just, it's what has to happen. It's the only reason Charlie Rangel exists is that he literally primaried Adam Clayton Powell III. And people forget that. He got there by primarying a legend.
Right.
So we wouldn't have had him but for a primary. So the only reason we got Cori Bush is she primaried the son of one of the founders of the Congressional Black Caucus.
Right.
And she did that because the people needed change. And so when the people need change, it doesn't, I once had a Black woman who was the mayor of Miami Gardens, Florida, say to me, anybody can primary me because I don't own this seat. This seat belongs to the people. And if you think you can beat me and I'm not doing a good enough job, she welcomed a primary. And that's the kind of politician I like.
I couldn't agree more. Okay. We emailed with you prior to, and one of your grievances, I think, is just something that ourselves and our audience will just sink their teeth in. And it has to do with Scott Jennings. Go off.
Ooh, stop. I just, I had Abby Phillip on the podcast and I had to ask her about him because I think there's a disingenuousness to a lot of Republicanism. All of us who have been in this journalism game for a long time know for a fact that most of the Republicans who serve Donald Trump obediently and live on their knees hate him.
Right.
We know they hate him. We know they don't respect him. We know that they don't They don't believe anything coming out of their mouths. I believe that about Scott Jennings. I don't buy it. His MAGA act is so phony to me because I am old enough to remember when on January 7, 2021, he said Donald Trump was an outrageous sort of outrage upon the dignity of the Constitution. He wrote that down and posted it on CNN. He told us what he thought of Trump then, but then he went on and he says, I voted for him happily. But what kind of a man are you to understand this man trying to overthrow the government and you still live on your knees? There's nothing Donald Trump could do that he would say is too much for him.
Right. How does he claim to be this huge patriot and wear, I'm so sick of these pundits that wear the flag pin on their suit. It doesn't make you a bigger patriot, big boy. Correct. It makes you look like a pussy first and foremost to me, because if you were genuinely patriotic, you would be wildly concerned about a man who tried to overthrow the federal government. If you're so concerned about anti-Semitism, this man pardoned a man at January 6th that had on a shirt that said Camp Auschwitz.
Correct.
You don't get to cherry pick when you care about these things. And I just think the Scott Jennings of the world have done such a disservice to Fox News viewers that think, oh, I'm going to be liberal and watch CNN tonight.
Right.
And then they go over and they're served this jet stream of propaganda and bullshit. And I just cannot imagine, as we sat here, we just criticize Hakeem Jeffries. We just criticize Chuck Schumer. What a puss boy you have to be that every night you sit down at a table and you speak for an audience of one.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's great.
You know?
Because he wants to run for office. Let's just be clear. He has designs on political office. He knows he needs Donald Trump's support in order to do that, to get the MAGA voters to vote for him. There's a rally, if you Google this rally, look it up on YouTube, y'all, where he is getting the attaboy from Donald Trump, patting him on his head like a puppy. That's why he does what he does every night. Pony. He's his show pony. And it's like, you want to be Trump's bitch. That's what you decided is your brand. That is a gross and disgusting brand. I'm a Democrat. Look how easily and freely we were happy to criticize any Democrat. Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries.
Cory Booker.
I criticized Barack Obama when he was there, and I worked for his campaign.
Yeah.
I worked to get him elected. I didn't see my kids for 12 hours a day to get him elected. And I still felt free to criticize him. We're not in a cult. And the fact that he sits there night after night, knowing I don't believe he believes half of what he says, and he still is willing to do it in order to entertain Trump. It's disgusting. And that is one I've absolutely had it with. And the fact that he is giving the permission structure for other Republicans to pretend that loving Trump the way he says he loves him is patriotism. To me, that is hurting the Republican Party. That part, my father he was not a citizen, but he was a whole Reaganite. The Republican Party he thought existed is dead because of people like Scott Jennings.
Yeah.
If Trump is like a proto-fascist, which he is, and you're down with it, then you're essentially saying you're going to align the former party of Lincoln with fascism. Then, there's no reason for me to respect you.
Well, and they call themselves patriots while they do that. That's one thing that goes all through me is, oh, I'm such a patriot. Sean Duffy was like, I'm worried about air traffic controllers being patriotic. I'm like, bitch, please, I'm worried about lives. And do not tell me when you do not believe in the Constitution or the law that you're a patriot, because that makes you an asshole, not a patriot.
That's right.
So that drives me crazy. But we talk about on this all the time that people get worse when they're in Donald Trump's orbit. So you said you think Scott Jennings wants to run for office and he wants Trump's endorsement. Is that what corrupts these people, their moral collapse? Is it the proximity to power? Is it transactional? I mean, in your experience and from your bird's eye view, what does that look like?
I mean, when I did my Trump book, I interviewed a lot of people around Donald Trump that had known him for a long, and they said that he has this power to corrupt almost anyone in his presence. His solicitousness of you in person, he tries to act like a tough guy, but in person, he's very solicitous of people. He flatters them and expects flattery in return. And I think that there's a combination. If you listen to people like Mitt Romney and then some people that I've spoken to about Trump, there's a combination of hope and fear. The hope is that Donald Trump can transfer the power he has, the cult-like hold on the base, onto you. So if I'm a Republican politician, I glom onto Trump hoping that cult-like following will vote for me and keep me in office. That's the hope part, that you can get, and then also maybe some of the riches will fall on you. You know, they're all over there trading crypto. They're all over there committing crimes.
Totally.
They're stealing. I mean,
Blowing
stop the steal.
Bubba.
Right?
Stop the steal
for
every
real,
day.
right? They're
Yeah.
stealing. And so they're like, ooh, we can rain some of this money down on me. The fear is, and a lot of politicians have said this on and off the record, the fear is that if you don't obey him, his cult will try to kill you. And there are a lot of people who claimed and told Mitt Romney this, and then Mitt Romney snitched on them and said people wanted to vote to impeach, but they were afraid that they'd be assassinated by Trump supporters, because MAGA supporters are armed to the teeth.
Right.
They are rabid in their support of him, and it's a religion. And so they will commit jihad for Trump. And so a lot of it is fear. And the hope and the fear, I think, are what make people, debase themselves for him.
Okay, let's talk about this, because Pumps and I have been really studying this, and we had Professor Ruth Ben-Ghiat on the podcast to teach us about, authoritarians, autocrats, dictators. So they project the strength, and they have to emit this toxic masculinity. When the dictator becomes frail, the cult falls apart. Let's just talk about kanks. We've got, concealer on the hands because they're bruised out the wazoo. We've got cankles as wide as the Mississippi. We've got bragging about taking animal identification tests. He's blowing Bubba. He's trying to, show pictures of his wife holding hands. I mean, he is a shit show. I don't know if you heard the audio of him blaring, this old queen, blaring Phantom of the Opera from the White House. Did you see that?
Listen, when it's not that, it's YMCA.
Right,
Are you
yes.
on you, or are we,
So-
what are we talking about here?
With the Scott Jennings just pining for his endorsement, I feel like, and maybe I'm being an optimist, and maybe this is so stupid of me to say this, but I feel like the worm is turning. I feel like there were fissures in the MAGA movement a couple months ago that have turned into full-blown cracks. And I think at some point, Trump's endorsement, especially when you look at how we kicked every motherfucker's ass a couple weeks ago, is going to be your nail in your political coffin. And what are your thoughts on that? And then what happens to a Scott Jennings career, a Moses Mike Grinder Johnson's career, when they are rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic with this MFer?
It's an excellent question, because if you think about the dictator in decline, right? The same thing kind of is happening in Russia, where there's all of these stories that Putin is physically declining, that he's sick, that he's ill. And that's when you started to see a Navalny start to really take hold, because those little fissures, when you're not clear, because there's no succession plan for a dictator. They intend to be in office forever, right? They don't intend to have anyone succeed them, which is why Trump can't even say Vance is his successor. No one is his successor. He's 2028, he's 2032, he's forever. But, in the case of Putin, his physical decline is when there's a weakness that lets the wannabes start to come in and try to seize power. So he has to constantly project strength, because they all fear assassination. They all fear they're going to end up like Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein was strong until he was weak, right? And once you start to physically decline, or you lose your patrons, or you lose your power, you end up usually, the way Ceausescu ended up. So they all are afraid. They're also constantly fearful when you're a dictator. So Donald Trump, the other day, he said he wasn't sure what they MRI.
Yes.
Right.
I thought that was fishy.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to sometimes know where he is.
Right.
Did y'all see the McDonald's speech? He's in front
my
of all
God,
the
it was
McDonald's.
That was the
Insanity.
biggest shit show I've ever seen in my life.
I don't understand how people watch that on TV, like at Fox, and are like, oh, yeah.
Well, they edit it. See, that's the other thing, is Fox sane washes him. They will never, during the campaign, he did all these round tables. Remember, he did these round tables with a lot of black people at them.
Yes.
Those things were so, when you watch the raw footage, you're like, oh my God, he's incoherent. But they chop it up the way 60 Minutes did with that interview with Nora. They chop it up, and then they use voiceover and stuff. The media is covering up one of the greatest scandals. Biden, he was old and feeble.
Right.
Trump, my godmother, is starting to get a touch of dementia. He seems to me to have a touch of something's happening up here.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't always seem to be fully coherent, or know where he is. And that is the opening, when the Civil War,
right.
which I think is already beginning,
Right.
is going to escalate. Who gets to inherit MAGA? Is it J.D. Vance, the couch boy who's got the brown wife who's a Hindu? MAGA's not going to want that.
Right. He will not defend his wife.
Or is it?
That's why.
Or is it Marjorie Taylor Greene,
or Tucker
who's
Carlson?
doing exactly what Trump did?
Oh my God.
She is coming out criticizing the status quo. She's criticizing other Republicans.
Come on.
She's talking about Israel. She's talking about America first.
Yes.
And if she is rebranding and it is real, we will know that if she doesn't throw one marginalized group under the bus. But I haven't heard her do that. She's still a cherry picker.
That's right.
But she is doing exactly what Trump did in 2015.
That's right.
She's coming out, beating up on Republicans, beating up on the status quo, saying you were lied to, you were conned, I got sucked into QAnon too. Her political savviness is off the charts. But who has she been hanging out with? Steve Bannon.
Come on.
Who was Trump's advisor back then? Bannon.
And this is
and
why
he loves populism.
Yes, he does. And so it's interesting. Oh, we're so on the same page. When she gave that interview to Dana Bash, where Dana Bash says, are you doing this because Donald Trump basically said you're never going to be able to win statewide in Georgia? Because there's been a rumor for a minute that we've been hearing in the weeds that she wanted to run for either governor or Senate, and that's why she's rebranding herself. Because it's definitely a rebrand, right?
Oh,
she's standing by the women.
For sure.
Standing by the Epstein victims. She's talking about cost and affordability, all the things Trump used to talk about, right? And I said to myself when I watched that interview, that lady's not running for governor or Senate. She's running for president.
Absolutely.
Right? She thinks she can inherit the MAGA crown. This is Game of Thrones. And because the dictator is he's the kid king in Game of Thrones that was like torturing people. He's Joffrey Baratheon. And Joffrey is weak and on his way to going where, right? They can see that Joffrey is weak. And the hand of the king, I think, is the Supreme Court. They think they can control him. And they feel like we want a dictator, but we feel we can control him. Trump is now a little daffy, and so everyone's charging for the crown. Vance has a problem in that the base of MAGA is fundamentally racist. And I know people don't like it when you say it, but it's the emergence from the Tea Party to MAGA.
Yeah.
Tea Party, when you finally did the actual data, PRRI and others, the thing that most motivated them was race and hatred of non-white immigrants. What most motivates MAGA? Hatred of non-white immigrants. They're obsessed with non-white immigrants and undocumented people. They use the term illegals, which is just the N-word for brown people.
100%.
If you want to say the N-word and it's about brown people, you say illegals. I'm sorry I said it again. That is me saying the N-word about that is what it is, right? And that's what motivates them. So they can't have the successor to MAGA be the guy with the brown Hindu wife. They're also Christian nationalists. That ain't gonna work. That's why he's throwing his wife under the bus. Poor Usha. Or she's in on it, right? And she's
playing slap and tickle with Erica Kirk's the weirdest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah,
she's like in her Tammy Faye era.
Okay. Holding on the back of his head and rubbing on his head.
Some weird shit.
Baby. Don't do that to Jason. I'm gonna start thinking something's going on. Why you holding the back of his head? I'm like, you not doing that right thing. You're supposed to be a widow. You in leather pants?
It is.
That's not widow wear.
Could you imagine if...
Wouldn't it be the most perfect fairy tale, MAGA fairy tale?
Yeah.
If he finally sees the light that he needs a white queen instead of this brown Hindu? I mean, I'm not saying that's happening.
Right.
Or maybe that Usha's not even in on it. Maybe she's whatever. But that's one entrant. Another entrant is frankly Donald Trump Jr. If he can, keep it together, because he's got the name.
Yeah.
He's the son.
Yeah.
Maybe it's him, right?
Right.
And then there's other entrants. Bannon can't do it because he's sloppy and look a hot mess, and everybody's like an ugly man. You know what I mean? You're hideous. That's not gonna be him. So it's like, well, who could it be? Charlie Kirk was said to be one of the contestants to inherit the throne. Well, he's gone. And then the other person there are two other people who I think are potential inheritors that we don't talk about as much because neither of them are politicians. One of them is Tucker Carlson.
Yeah,
who has been positioning himself for a long time.
When he's not getting attacked by demons.
In his sleep.
That's fucking crazy now.
Come on now.
Let me ask.
He says it out loud.
But honestly, if you were Beelzebub or a demon, who best to get into bed with?
I want to tell you somebody that's on my watch list.
And the other one is Nick Fuentes, but go on.
Yes, but let me tell you who's on my watch list that nobody's talking about right now, and I can see this very clearly happening. Nikki Haley. She has stayed quiet. She's sitting over there. She had a pretty good primary, and she's going to resurrect and say, we need to get back to our family values Republican roots. We need to channel Reagan. We got so far away from our party, and I can totally see her positioning. She's staying quiet right now, letting it all go.
She's sitting on boards making money.
Yeah. But she has always wanted that. And she was a pretty good candidate. Not my cup of tea, but as far as...
She seemed sane.
Yes, exactly. And I can see her claiming to be the Republican savior. So let's put her on the watch list.
We'll put her on the watch list. But the other person I would say is Nick Fuentes, who I actually think is the true inheritor of MAGA, to be honest, because he's openly racist. He's not hiding it. He's not phony. He's like, I'm racist. I'm against the blacks. I'm against the Jews. Yeah. He just says it straight. He's, on the right side when it comes to the issues of genocide, and everyone has run to that side, right? But he is an evil version,
totally,
of an even more evil version of Tucker. He's a younger, more evil Tucker, and I think he actually speaks to the base the way Trump spoke to the base, but he does it unadulterated because he doesn't have to pretend to be political. And so I think they're trying to fight him because I think a lot of them understand that he might actually be the person running for that crown.
And the Heritage Foundation is fine with that. The Heritage Foundation has been playing this long game long before Trump came in, and they gave it its blessing when Tucker sat down with Nick. But did you see this video of Nick Fuentes? Sometimes if you're on your algorithm, you'll have like a Candace show up because she says something anti-Israel or anti-Netanyahu, and then a Tucker will show up or Nick will show up because even assholes have moments of clarity, right? So I saw this in my algorithm, this video of Nick Fuentes, you guys, and he says, it's crazy. With anti-Semitism, like I can say a bunch of racist stuff about Muslims. I can say a bunch of racist stuff about black people. I can say a bunch of racist stuff about immigrants. Nobody in MAGA gets mad at me. But if I say something about Israel, he's lecturing them on the most racist neo-Nazi on the planet about how they do not connect universal human rights. They're getting lectured by Nick Fuentes on how crazy indoctrinated they are about this Israel thing and what blinders, moral blinders they have on about it. But I can totally see Nick Fuentes too. And here's the thing. Pumps and I talk about this a lot. There's kind of degrees of Republicans. There are the cult, the people that, triple Trump, they got the Trump flags, Trump nuts on the truck, the whole nine. And then you've got country club Republicans, which we grew up around, and especially in a red state, white folks, upper middle class to upper class. Exactly.
Right.
And they're the most insidious because the country club Republicans that we know, they're cultured enough and educated enough that if they were to come spend a weekend in New York and somebody said, do you like Trump? They'd be like, oh, God, no. But they delightfully, very quietly, and most insidiously went and voted for him because their racism is just right under the surface. But if they want to hang out with a black friend or a gay friend, they can do it. And they're the most dangerous. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that part of the electorate. The cult, I think, is going to, they're so malleable, but that's going to be an interesting thing.
And, if you think about it, just having done this Medgar Evers book recently, when you're in Mississippi and you're sort of studying the way it worked, there was always the Klan, which was the lowbrow racists who basically were allowed to do the purge, the violent underclass of whites. These were lower working class whites who were running the store that the black person shopped in, the people that owned the store that Emmett Till went in, and then they ended up killing him. Those people had a shop, but they sold to black people. So they were considered lower class. But what they got in exchange for being, on the side of the high class racists at the top, they got to do the purge. They could kill any black person they wanted with impunity. They could murder, rape, run wild through the black community, and nothing would ever happen to them. They could kill at will. That was the people who were in the Klan. Some of them were cops, they were sheriffs, they were murderous. And then there were the White Citizens Council. They had the exact same ideology. They had the same beliefs, but they had on a suit and tie, and they owned the shops where white people shopped. They owned the banks, they owned the insurance companies, and they wanted the same outcomes, which is a massive underclass that had to work for low wages. Because at the end of the day, everything, even racism, is all about the Benjamins. Right. Slavery, Jim Crow, it was all about having a massive underclass of low-wage labor that could never rise, could never ask for rights, could never be unionized, and had no choice but to work for you for nothing.
That structure still exists.
And that is the same structure.
That is crazy because I've just never heard it put to me in such historical, factual ways. But she and I talk about it all the time, the layers of racism. Mm-hmm. And then you get to what I call country club Republicans that are polite, cultured racists. Mm-hmm. And they know when they can flip it on and when they can flip it off. And that's exactly what you describe. And it's insane that those structures are still so...
And they still want the same thing.
Right.
Right? I mean, what the elite in this country have always wanted was what slavery gave them in the first place, right? Which is perfect capitalism. Low cost of labor, in that case, zero cost of labor, and high unlimited profits without taxation. And that is it. There isn't anything more complicated to conservatism. They want low-cost labor, and they want unlimited profit without taxation. How you get there is the question. And the easiest way that I think the right has figured how you get there is that you keep the big class of people who could really fight you because they have the numbers, and I mean white people. You keep them on your side while giving them nothing economically. You offer them nothing. But what you offer them is whiteness. You say you get to be white, which means you're better than the blacks. You get nothing else. You get no money. We'll take your farms. Tariffs will destroy your lives. Everything gets destroyed. But you stay with us because we're white. You're white and we're white. And that's what we have in common. But in fact, you had people in the past like Fred Hampton that were trying, and King at the end, were saying to white working class, white poor folks, saying, hey, you know what we have in common? We're broke.
Right.
You're broke. The
Right.
Latinos are broke. Them Asians in Chinatown are broke. What if we all got together? That's the most dangerous kind of politics. It's what Mamdani is doing. If you can get to people and say, put aside the white thing for just a hot second and think about what you have. You had a 400-year head start on these blacks and you still poor.
Yeah.
Make that make sense to yourself.
Yeah.
And maybe think about a different kind of politics where you really do vote your pocketbook, not your color.
Right.
If that ever happened, no Republican would win ever again. And they know that. So they keep the racism going. They keep the hate going. It's very useful. And so the country club types love racism.
Oh,
They just don't want to be tarred with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's polite.
That is just, all of that is so true. And when you think about how brilliant and diabolical Republican long-term game has been in attacking blue cities where multiculturalism really exists, you can't name a big red city. There isn't one. So when we all live around each other and we have to cooperate, your neighbor could be black or speak a different skin color or maybe came here from a different country, it erodes that whiteness that you feel in suburbia and cookie cutter, like, you know, where you live. I mean, it's a very white, homogenized place. And when you get into big cities, you can see how effective they've been, which pisses me off about Democrats. Let's be not on Democrats a second. As women who've lived in red states, our state, 50th in education, 50th place for women to live, 49th in education. I can go on and on. It's a bottom 5 state. Mm-hmm. And they have had a MAGA supermajority for 25 plus years. The last time we had a Democratic governor, I think, was 2011. Education was ranked 14. 14. Mm-hmm. Since they went all MAGA, all in, all Republican, it's dropped to 50th. And I think Democrats have got to do a better job attacking the fact-based evidence about how these people have been lied to, and politicians have done the grossest, most disgusting thing imaginable, use their faith to get them to become worse people and drive holes in their communities. And 100%. Democrats have not messaged that well.
Not only not messaged well, but when's the last time a Democrat was in Oklahoma or Mississippi or Tennessee? Or when did the last time they spent real money to try to win races in these states? They're absent without official leave in the whole South. And Democrats, first of all, they have to get better at just showing up. When's the last time Democrats went into the hills of West Virginia and said to those poor people, most of whom don't vote, by the way. Poor white people don't vote. Poor people don't vote. Poor white people, poor brown, they don't vote. They generally just sort of let it happen, right? But if you went into Bishop William Barber goes into the hills of West Virginia. Those people want the same thing that we sitting around this table want. They want a decent life. They want to be able to feed their kids. They want to be able to have a decent home that they can't lose. They don't want to, go broke because they need health care. They would like to go to a doctor every so often, go to a dentist. They would like normal things. They don't have them. And so, but they're left out there not just by Republicans who couldn't give a shit about them. As long as they stay racist and stay angry at gay people and the trans people they'll never meet, they're happy with them. Mm-hmm. Democrats just don't go there at all. They just don't go there at all.
But when they do, look at Andy Beshear.
Right.
Look at what happens. And I think knowing the psychology of the electorate in a very religious state, and Pumps and I can speak to this, and Andy Beshear, I'm an atheist, so when politicians start talking about religion, I'm always just like, shut up. It doesn't matter what the religion is.
Right.
Jewish, Muslim, Christian, I don't want to hear it. I'm a secularist. But we live in a very religious first world country. And so when you hear Andy Beshear, and we had him on the podcast, and he talks about his faith and that it calls on him to not judge people and to show compassion and meet the marginalized and help strengthen them. And he refused to throw trans people under the bus, which would be such an easy, trashy thing to do that you hear Democrats flirting with, which I think is a horrible idea. But when he went and spoke to them, they voted for him. And this is fascinating. So in Oklahoma, if you poll everybody, they're all Republican, right? Oklahoma City's 50-50, but the state at large. But when you poll the people of Oklahoma individually, are you for gun control? Overwhelming numbers say yes. Are you for a woman's right to choose? Majority say yes. We took the vote to the people of Oklahoma. Red Ryan Walters, dump truck extraordinaire, Oklahoma. Do you want to legalize marijuana? This was a few years ago. They legalized it. So it's crazy to me that the Democratic Party can say, okay, line item issues, these people are progressive, but they always vote big R. And it's just such a miss. It is such a miss that the Democrats don't have a 50-state strategy.
I agree. And they don't. And it's a brand problem.
Yeah.
Right. It's the same way in the South. Republican was a dirty word for a long, long time. And just saying you're a Republican was enough for people to just keep voting Democratic when the parties were flipped. And so the brand is the issue in a lot of these red states, because they view the brand as associated, to your point, with these cultural things, with gay marriage and with trans, and so that's it. They don't
pronouns,
right? They're like
black people,
right? Brown immigrant. They're just like, that's that brand, and so that people won't even hear you if you're saying you're a Democrat. Which is why a lot of the successful candidates go in and they just talk about their values, or they're not a Democrat. They're an independent. They're working families, etc. But I think the Democrats, the first thing they have to do is they have to actually get in these states and start to organize. Like Louisiana, I think, is a perfect example. It has one of the largest black populations in the entire country, and yet you can elect a Democrat statewide in Michigan that's only 12% black. Louisiana is like almost like 25% black, and you can't elect a Democrat there. It's because but you can, right? They had a Democratic governor for the hot moment, and they actually got Obamacare. For that moment that they had a Democratic governor, John Bel Edwards, for that 4 years, that precious 4 years, they came up off of, they used to be almost down where Oklahoma is in education. They lifted. They are the carceral state of the country, right? They are the biggest incarcerator of humans in America, Louisiana. They actually reduced their level of incarceration and child incarceration. They started to come back. But then along came this new governor, who's basically Satan, and ran on a harsh pro-MAGA and took all of those wonderful benefits away. If you think about Andy Beshear, what did Andy Beshear have when he came calling? Yes, he talked about his faith, but he also had that daddy. Right. Because what the daddy did is he did what John Bel Edwards did in Louisiana. He brought them health care. And he was smart enough to say, the brand Obamacare hurts me. I'm going to call that thing Connect. It's called Connect. You want health care? You want Connect? They're like, yeah. Then this is the dad. The dad gets Connect in under another name, not Affordable Care Act, not Obamacare, Connect. Then he terms out. He does his 2 terms. The next guy who runs saying, I vow to end Obamacare. Yeah, all right. He gets in. Then he tries to take Connect.
Right.
And people went, hold on now. I don't like Obamacare. Don't touch my Connect.
Right.
And people didn't make, at the time I was working at thegrio.com. I was managing editor of The Grio. We sent PBJ, Perry Bacon Jr., who's from He's actually from Kentucky. He goes down there and he goes back to his hometown and he's asking people, man on the street, do you like Obamacare? And they go, hate it. Do you like Connect? Love it. Do you know that they're the same thing? No, it's not. They were just deny it, right? And then so other journalists started doing the same thing. People just didn't know they were the same thing. But when they figured out those were the same thing, they ran that man out so quick and put the son in. They said, I want that Bashir boy in there because the dad, they can remember in their lifetime that the Bashirs had their back.
And that government served them. And the same thing happened in the BBB. I can't even call it what it is, but Medicare, Medicaid in Oklahoma is called Sooner Care.
Yes.
And so in each state, it's called something different. Mm-hmm. And typically, when you think about FDR, the reason why they had to term limit him is because when government starts working for people, they like it.
That's right.
When you allow laborers to have rights and unions and insurance and pensions, people like it. Like you, I'm sure you have friends from Europe, these friends that live in Paris, and they're so proud that women get 1 year off entirely to stay at home with their child. They're very proud of the retirement age. And recently they tried to raise it. And, the French are always on strike.
They were in the streets.
Right. Yeah. But they take pride in these, and it's never branded as a mooch or, a parasite. And I just think we need to do such a lot of messaging, the Democrats, while, messing with the politicians we have. Chuckles out, Hakeem. You're on watch.
Yeah, probation.
But I agree that I can get behind him if he can move some and acknowledge where the base is heading. But at the same time, the Democrats have got to start messaging to people in all of these flyover states and all of MAGA land, and some of this MAGA land are in blue states. Mm-hmm. You have been lied to.
That's right.
For decades, long before Trump. Mm-hmm. You have been lied to. Look how rich Elon Musk is. Look at how rich Jeff Bezos is. And they're so entitled, they think that you should pay a higher percentage of your income than they should.
Yeah. Right. And it's diabolical to call something big and beautiful when its only purpose is to make a temporary tax cut for the super rich permanent.
Right.
And make the temporary subsidies for regular people temporary. And to keep them temporary forever. That's what that bill did. And in order to try to, Democrats are bad at storytelling.
Yes.
What they should have been saying is what this bill was doing is in order to gut $4.1 trillion, all our grandchildren's grandchildren are going to have to be paying this debt, right? $4.1 trillion for mostly rich people. To pay for that, they started with Doge. They said, we got to find some money. We can't make this be $4 trillion. Let's try to find $2 trillion by cutting out waste, fraud, and abuse. Doge goes in there, slashes away at the government. They get rid of USAID. They fire all these people. All these air traffic controllers are leaving. They're making everyone take buyouts. They end up with like $100 billion in savings.
Right.
All of that destruction got them like $100 billion. They didn't get close to even $1 trillion. So they're like, well, we got to find some money. You can't touch Social Security. That's $5 trillion. You can't touch that. The old people be in the streets. Where can we get $1 trillion? Oh, Medicaid. Always go to the poor. They went and they ate almost $1 trillion, $800 billion. They scooped out of Medicaid to pay for that tax cut. So people need to understand when these Democrats were supposedly fighting for a hot minute, they were fighting for them to not take what little was left. They took almost $1 trillion out of your Medicaid. Hospitals were already going to close because of that bill that they then diabolically called big and beautiful. To say it was beautiful to give the rich the biggest tax cut in history. And it was beautiful to take $800 billion from the poor who needed health care, to destroy rural hospitals. They're going to destroy hospitals in New York. New York people are going to still go to the hospital. But in Oklahoma, Mississippi, Louisiana, Tennessee, Arkansas, y'all are screwed. Y'all are good and fucked.
Yep.
Because of that bill. And now if you had Obamacare, you double fucked.
Yeah.
Because now not only will you not be able to get health care, everyone in the ER, y'all worried about undocumented people? You know where they're going to get their health care? In the ER. And you know who pays for that? You.
Right. Exactly.
So you're triple fucked.
Yeah.
Because of that bill. And they were fighting to hang on to that last little $0.3 trillion, $300 billion would have made that thing extended. That's nothing compared to the tax cut. But Democrats didn't say that. They just said things that didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And then they gave in anyway. And now people are going to basically lose their health care because it's going to be too expensive. It's really pathetic.
Okay, Joy, we're going to play a game with you called Had It or Hit It. Had it or hit it, the term following guest.
Had it. It's like my pet peeve. Ever since Starbucks, which is on the BDS list, I don't go there anyway, but when I used to go to Starbucks, baby, when they say following guest, it drives me crazy. And I try to not be like a grammar Nazi anymore. I'm like, let me not try to correct people's grammar. But following guest doesn't mean anything. If you have a list of people, a list of 5 people, and it says, will the following guest, Pumps, please come forward? Because I knew that she was there. Will the following guest, Jennifer, please come forward? That's how you use following guest. If you just say following guest and you don't even know who the people are, it doesn't mean anything. Just say next. Just say next. I know it sounds rude to you, but that's the correct grammar. I hate following guest. It makes me want to, it makes me cringe in my spirit. I get so angry that it's actually unnatural how angry I get when I hear following guest.
Rage.
Yeah.
Just say next. Had it.
Okay, had it or hit it, tech bros.
Had it. Had it. They're surveilling us and they're weird. Have you ever heard Peter Thiel talk?
Oh my
it's
God.
fucking nuts.
What is happening?
What's
wrong
his
with
side
him?
hustle about the rapture?
The Antichrist crowd.
The Antichrist. What the fuck is that?
I think he's telling us he's the Antichrist.
He looks like it. He's changed his whole look, everything. I mean, it's nuts. And people don't know who he is. I was with some girlfriends and one of them's like, I don't know who that is. And we were all like, you have to get on your phone. Like, it's so serious. And then they come out and they're like, oh my God.
Oh my! He and Elon Musk, they don't all seem all there mentally, and yet they're in charge of us. They have all our data. Peter Thiel has your data.
Yeah.
Watch him, and then know that he and Elon, and then watch him. They have your data. That terrifies me. Had it.
I just can't believe that we just kind of let Elon Musk walk in to the Oval Office with a black eye, tripping his balls off on ketamine while his kid rubbed a booger on the desk, and we just moved on.
He rubbed a booger on the desk.
He rubbed a booger while his daddy was higher than a kite, and everybody's just moved on from it.
And then he told Trump, "Shut up! You're not my daddy. He in charge."
That was.
Okay.
Can you imagine that kid in the store? I said I want Oreo cookies now, and he's okay. I mean, it's like he's in charge of the day. What is happening?
Yeah.
No.
It's nuts.
Had it.
All right. Had it or hit it, Ted Cruz 2028.
We were just laughing about that.
Oh, only if he changes his name to Raphael the Canadian. That's who he is. Go by Raphael,
He doesn't get it.
No.
He does not understand how much people hate him.
Everyone hates him. I think his kids hate him.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody likes
His
him.
neighbors hate him.
Does
His neighbors hate him.
Everybody
The
hates him.
neighbors whistle blew. Pumps had her nose to the ground. When they went to Cancun, Pumps would call me. She goes, the neighbors are talking to the press about how much they hate him.
Right. Like
Hate him.
these are people they thought were friends, that they were going to vacation together. And they hate him so much, they didn't just leak it. They called a reporter at the New York Times.
Oh my
they
God.
hate him.
Even his beard hates him. You could tell it's trying to jump off his face. It's like, get off. I don't even want to be on you. Nasty.
Okay. Had it or hit it, Bubba Gate.
I hit it, baby.
I'm so there.
Baby, I wish it was Bill Clinton because this is the tea I need. I need to know who Bubba is. I want to know was Trump on his knees. I want to know was Trump I want to know everything. Was he a spitter? I need to know. Because he did that thing with the microphone where he was filleting it.
He acted like he knew what he was doing.
He's talking about
He looked like an expert. He talked about that man
Palmer's
junk.
cock. Yeah.
How did he know what it looked like?
Yeah.
I need to know who Trump is with when he's with them. Is Melania jealous or is she glad to not have to deal with it? Is she saying, go ahead, Bubba, you take it because I don't want it? I hit it every day. I need it. I need to know who Bubba is. And if it's not Bill Clinton, is it Bill Clinton brother?
You know, Ghislaine Maxwell's horse name was Bubba.
This is all I want to talk about. I don't even want to talk about nothing else. Just this.
It's crazy.
24/7.
I want it so bad.
So bad.
My daughter, who is comes this weekend, she calls me and she goes, Mom, did Donald Trump give Bill Clinton a blowjob? It's all over TikTok. And I was like, that kind of is the running theory. She's like, and these Christians are all for it? Like, apparently.
How did he hold it with his little hands?
That's why he's probably so good at his mouth, because his hands are so little.
small.
Especially if it was Ghislaine's horse. Those hands are
The horses are quite large. Oh, Donald, you scam.
Oh my gosh. Ooh. I love it. And, here's the thing. In any other world, Mark Epstein came out and said, hey, it wasn't Bill Clinton, but he didn't deny that any of it happened. He also didn't deny the part that Putin had evidence of it.
Right.
So all these national security Republicans for years, the nauseating Scott Jennings with the national security lapel, and I believe in national security. Now it makes perfect sense, Helsinki, the bend over in Alaska, because Putin, we all thought it was the PP tape. It's Kanks blowing Bubba.
Yeah. I mean, and then I also wonder, what does Bibi have on him?
Same thing, I bet.
Right? Because if you think about it, Ghislaine Maxwell's father was Mossad related. Yep. And then you have Jeffrey Epstein, who a lot of those emails, he's very also pro-Israel. He's also buddies with Ehud Barak. So it's like there's all this Israel connection. There's connection to Kensington, to the crown. And then there's connections to Russia. There could be multiple national security challenges with Trump that multiple countries have dirt on him, dirt on the president of the United States.
Which is why we need the details.
That's right.
Spit or swallow.
We need
spit or swallow. Who is Bubba? Horse, human.
Horse or human. Ew.
All right, Joy, last one. Had it or hit it, the United States of America.
I mean, we're kind of like... We're like a ghetto vibe in a trench coat, or what are we? Are we like a? We're like a ghetto in a Gucci belt or something like that.
Yeah,
is that what it is? It's something like that. America, in some ways, is kind of it's kind of like my daughter just came back from Japan, and they have like brand new amazing infrastructure and super fast trains, and it's like we're like a broken down like uncle, like we're an old unk that needs like a rebrand.
We're an aging porn star.
We're an aging porn star, and it's sad for me because I think my parents were immigrants, so they came here with this real hope about America, and they had this kind of rose-colored glasses view of what America was supposed to be. My mother very soon found out about the racism, and she was like, "Oh, this is not what I expected. Right. I didn't know that was going to happen." But I think there was this America has the most possibility of any country. It's not built for a caste system, which is a good thing. It's built to actually create an ecumenical, multiracial democracy, but it isn't functioning. So I'm still America. I'm still going to say hit it, but it needs a reboot. It needs an HGTV makeover.
It needs a bikini trim, this porn star.
It needs a whole bikini.
It needs a Brazilian.
Its pontoncong is hairy and nasty, and it needs to get fixed.
Joy Reid, this was exceeded all expectations. It was totally, we decided we had to do it in person. It exceeded all expectations. We love you. You're welcome on I've Had It anytime. Let's keep fighting the good fight.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Patriots, gay triots, they triots, black triots, brown triots, and the people who try to oppress these people and don't have the courage to stand up for these people can. Fuck off! I added so many more little things.
Yeah, I was just...
You were waiting with bated breath.
Truly with bated breath.
Okay, Pumps, what have you had it with?
Okay, we haven't talked about this in a while, but I saw it this weekend, and I have fucking had it. Couples sitting on the same side of the booth. Oh my gosh. I know that was early on in our Had It's. And I went to this restaurant and this older couple, like not old, like old, but like my age-ish, sitting on the same side of the booth. I checked. They were married, I assumed, to each other. And I'm like, you live together. You rode here together. Why are you sitting on the same side of the booth? It just went all through me. It just triggered me back to the early days of this podcast.
That's always been something that has confounded me because I am an eye contact person.
Same.
I like to, when I'm having a conversation with someone, for them to be across from me, much like you and I are now. And the couples that sit on the same side of the booth, I always think, is it performative coupling when you're at home at the table? Do you sit on the same side of the table at home? And that's, I think, is key.
That's a great point.
That's key. What I want to know is if you sit on the same side of the table in your dining room or your breakfast table, and you do the same in public, then I'm going to give them a pass. But if you have a four-top at home and you sit on opposite sides. And then when you go out to a restaurant, you sit on the same side. I'm calling somebody's fucking around.
Really? You're going to go that far?
Because there's a lot of performative coupling that happens that I don't think happens behind closed doors, that's done for the public, which I think exposes some sort of insecurity or some historical lapse in the relationship, that publicly you're announcing to all of these strangers that don't give a shit about you, that would normally never look at you except for the fact that you're sitting on the same side of the booth.
I think you're right. When I really think about it, I think you're right. It's performative. They're trying to tell the world we love each other. It's like you're 3 steps closer to a vow renewal when you're sitting on the same side of the booth.
Yeah. But I want to tell you, I witnessed the sweetest thing the other day. So I was getting a manicure pedicure, and the ladies attack both my feet and hands at the exact same time. So I can't, my hands are occupied, my feet are occupied. And this kid, I would say he's probably 14 or 15, walked in to Epic Nails where I go. And he was selling candy apples. And he walked in and he was like, does anybody want to buy a candy apple? And I'm, aforementioned, hands are literally tied up. But I'm kind of watching the whole thing go down. There's probably about 10 customers. And there's this black lady that's sitting close to him. And she kind of scanned the whole entire place and thought, nobody's going to buy a candied apple from this kid, but I'm going to. So she said, all right, I don't have any cash. And he's like, I take Cash App. So she picks out her candied apple, and then it kind of gets contagious. Then everybody starts buying a candied apple. And I thought, that's so sweet.
That is sweet.
It was really sweet. And then this man comes in right as all this is happening, and he sits at the pedicure stand right next to me. And he's probably, I think, 85. He kind of shuffles in, and he comes and sits down next to me. And then his phone rings real loud. Okay. And he takes the call on speakerphone,
right? Which
Which normally irritates me, but he answers. He's screaming, and it's his wife that's on the phone. He's like, hey, honey, they're just on my feet now. It's going to be a while till they get to my hands. And she's like, I'm just completely fine. I'm sitting out here in the parking lot reading my book. You take your time. You take your time. And I'm kind of looking across at the people across, and we're all smiling because it's very endearing and it's very sweet. And he said, okay, darling, you read your book and I'm going to sit here. And it takes a while for him to get processed through the whole hands and feet, because he was getting both a pedicure and a manicure, which shout out for people staying on top of hygiene.
Absolutely.
Well into advanced stage. Well, fast forward, I'm leaving around the same time that this old man's leaving. And he goes outside, and the wife is nowhere to be found. So Tammy, one of the gals that works at the manicure pedicure shop, is out there in the parking lot with him, and they're literally going car to car. So I don't know where his wife was parked, but there are some times where there are certain things that irritate me, like speakerphone calls in public. In this instance, and I think it's just because I'm looking for goodness and all of this MAGA fuckery, I'm just desperate to see goodness in people. And I've kind of changed my outlook on being so bitchy about the petty stuff in MAGA America. So when the man sitting next to me was, screaming at the top of his lungs because he couldn't hear well, the wife screaming at the top of her lungs in the speakerphone, which is up full volume, and he's 12 inches away from me. I sat there and just smiled and thought, this is so adorable. Now, Jennifer, of 2 years ago, under a Democratic rule, I would have been irritated from start to finish on all of it.
Well, but like you said, you have to pick your battles, and you have to find goodness in a world that is authoritarian. You have to think, that's sweet that this wife is waiting in the car for her husband. I'm a sucker. I've even been such a sucker. I've bought stuff on the subway, which all the New Yorkers look down, they look away. I always buy something. I'm a sucker for that.
Yeah. The kid, and the candied apples were impressive. There was a variety. They were all different flavors. Somebody put a lot of work into the candied apples. And I don't ever know what happened to the old man and his wife.
I was going to say, do we know? Did she show back up?
I don't know. At this point, I'm running late. I had to go. Tammy seemed to have him under control. Right. And it seemed like he was going to be best staying put versus, and I don't know, maybe she parked somewhere else and they figured it out eventually. But next time I go in, I'll get an update on him. All right, let me tell you what I've had it with. I've had it with Republican politicians, obviously, but one in particular throughout all of the cowardice on display that we see that got my attention a couple weeks ago is our Senator Mark Wayne Mullen.
Mm-hmm.
And he was on some committee, Senate committee, interrogating, I believe it was somebody that RFK Jr. fired at HHS. And I want to remind the listener that Oklahoma is ranked 50th in education. And he's trying to be a badass. And he keeps asking her, when was you fired? So is that when you was fired? So you was fired then, or you was fired then? You know, it's just the stupidity on display combined with the hubris / arrogance of these people when they're objectively dumb. He's objectively being, blusterous and a blowhard. And I'm just sitting there watching that and I'm thinking, can we, maybe I just have to lower the bar. Can we just have politicians that can speak proper English? And he's probably the guy that's, banned Spanish, all that crazy shit.
For sure.
And he can't even speak English. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, and he's the same guy that's so short he has to stand on a booster box when he does press conferences. I mean, I think he's probably 5'2", 5'3" on a good day.
He's also the same one that wanted to fight in the middle of the Senate chamber, the union president, because he's such a fucking tough guy that he can't use proper grammar. He's been everywhere too. And every time he gets on those news channels, he embarrasses himself. I mean, It's humiliating.
Because he's not smart.
He's not smart. And like you said, it's the hubris, the arrogance of, well, I'm so sharp. And it's like every time you open your mouth, you embarrass not only yourself, your family, your constituents, the entire state, and the United States
Here's the
Senate.
thing, though. Does he embarrass his constituents? Does he? I don't think he does. I think the constituents see him doing that and masquerading being a tough guy. And that's enough for them. The truth is not something they're interested in. Having decency is not something they're interested in because morality is eroded so much that they just see, oh, good, she was a Biden person and he's browbeating her in improper grammar. And because the state is ranked 50th in education, they might think saying, when was you fired is proper. It's just, I don't understand what to make of an electorate in a state that witnessed right-wing terrorism bomb the Alfred P. Murrah building. And then they continue to vote for parties that have all of these Proud Boys and all of these right-wing militia nuts in it. I don't know how you teach people like that facts.
That's really the breakdown, is people don't want to know the facts and they want to argue what the facts are. Mark Wayne Mullen does it. He argues what the facts are. I saw him post, he voted against releasing the Epstein files. And the way the Senate, the question was worded, voting no meant you wanted to release the files. And he misrepresented it on his social media and was like, Democrats all voted no. And I'm like, you're the biggest dumbass. And I question, does he know?
Yeah.
You think he knows?
Yeah. He knows. I mean, I don't think he knows how to speak English well.
Right.
But I think he knows. I mean, this is the same guy that I believe he's done like the family portraits that have become all too common with right-wing politicians, where they take pictures with assault rifles as a family and everybody has the assault rifles. This guy is a big, Bible thumper, hypocrite, which then leads me to, I want his search history from the RNC. I want to know what apps were installed and uninstalled, because what are you hiding from? Why do you speak so much about scripture and conviction and morals, and then you always vote the exact opposite of your apparent Lord and personal Savior, which leads me to the conclusion that people that do this are hiding some really evil shit in their private lives.
Well, don't you think that, I mean, it just proves itself time and time and time again. The super preachers that are up there browbeating, infidelity, gay marriage, all that, then they're always the ones that get busted on Grindr or get busted with a sex worker or are fucking around with the church secretary. I mean, in fact, this is so weird that we're talking about this. I have this thing where I just bookmark all the times I see Republican politicians that have been arrested for some type of nefarious sexual sexual conduct. I do it like 2 or 3 times a day. I bet in the last week alone, I have 10, North Carolina, Georgia. It's like these big rah-rah Christian guys. We look no further than Jerry Falwell Jr., Liberty University. You can't hold hands at the university. And his wife's banging the pool guy while he watches.
Yeah.
And then he's going to sit in judgment of other people's morals. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Don't you think, though, Pumps, that's at the epicenter of why these men support Trump? Because Trump got away with it.
Yeah.
He fucked a porn star. He fucked the Playboy bunny. He doesn't have to be accountable for the things that they don't want to be accountable for. And so he provides cover. It's like, fuck yeah, if I want to go do gay shit on the weekend, I can get away with it because I'm a white privileged male. If I want to go, hire 25 sex workers while I'm traveling and my wife is at home with the kids and then show up on Sunday morning and roll out to Sunday school, I can do it. Like, Trump represents the worst in the white man's impulses. It's all come to this one giant, disgusting pimple. And they all follow under him because he offers some sort of permission structure for their moral duplicity. And it makes them feel a little bit better.
Right. He's never been held accountable, so I shouldn't be held accountable.
He's not a good example. So in his duplicity, it provides cover. Well, Trump's fighting for America. He's a patriot. Yeah, he fucks around and talks about Arnold Palmer's cock all the time and how big it is. And he tried to give a microphone a blowjob. Yeah, after Charlie Kirk's funeral, I logged into Grindr and I did some gay shit. But who doesn't do it? That seems to be kind of like the thing. I mean, I wish that there was some really some journalists that could really embed when there's a next big meeting of Republicans at places like there was at the RNC, like there was at Charlie Kirk's funeral. And then you see these Grindr surges and use reported outages, et cetera. I mean, that's really the Watergate work of today.
Yeah.
Is to just start exposing these hypocrites that normally we would have empathy for, but because they wake up every day and want to erode civil rights and make LGBTQ plus people less safe, Black people less safe, brown people less safe, fuck them.
Fuck them.
Yeah. All right. Welcome to I've Had It. I'm Jennifer.
I'm Angie. HBIC stands for Beaver.
All right. Kylie.
Yes.
What's going on?
I just want to, I have a Mark Wayne Mullen memory I also wanted to throw out.
Oh, good.
That we cannot forget. He is the one that cowered under a chair during January 6th and ran and hid like a little fucking baby.
That's right.
Big tough guy.
He is. And he's like Mr. Workout Boy, Mr.
UFC. Isn't he like a UFC?
UFC
That's
fighter,
a red
boxer.
flag.
WWE, something like that. Yeah, he was. He was cowering under the chair, but he's a big, tough guy. And he wasn't scared of January 6th.
Okay, I've got some reviews for you. This one is 5 stars, titled Jesus Would Totally Approve. And they write, atheist? Yes. More Christ-like than 95% of Christians? Absolutely. Jennifer and Angie pour out compassion, empathy, and fierce support for the marginalized, all while keeping it real with the profanity and petty grievances, which I absolutely love. The podcast is raw, honest, and full of the kind of humanity Jesus actually preached. Bravo, ladies. Love from a fellow Brown Triot.
That's so nice.
That is nice.
That is so nice. In a world my entire life where Christians have told me I'm going to hell, my parents are bad parents because they didn't take me to church, and seeing the moral depravity of the people who said those types of things about me and my family, it's so comforting to see that from, I assume that she's probably a person of faith, because for me, my atheism in the Bible Belt has always been a source of judgment and projected cruelty onto me from my peers. Now, I want to say, I have some fabulous, fabulous friends in Oklahoma City that are like, when you're open-minded in a red state, you are very, very, very open-minded, because you're constantly reminded when you see a megachurch friend of just how gross and hypocritical that life is, that it makes you run to open-mindedness even more so. And so that's so nice to see, because I'm telling you guys, the Bible Belt cruelty, and if they treat a white privileged woman like me like that, that's why I'm so inclusive and compassionate towards Black people, towards brown people, towards LGBTQ plus people. Because if they treat me
right
like that, imagine how they treat minorities. It's far worse than what they treat me.
Well, we're seeing it play out. Like the mentality of all of these evangelicals is now nationwide. Look at no further than Christy Nome. Big Christian. She's big into the Bible. And she rips people off the street and has her people have masks on. She sends them without due process to Alligator Alcatraz or foreign country prison camps, and lays her head on the pillow at night and thinks, I'm such a great Christian. I am doing the Lord's work. And she believes it.
It's gross. And I'll never get over her shooting the dog. I saw an article that I can't remember. It was maybe New York Magazine or something, that Donald Trump said to somebody, I think it was Don Jr. Don Jr. said, are you going to hire her? She shot her dog. And he says to Don Jr., well, that's not good. You wouldn't even do that, and you kill everything. Trump said that to Jr. Right. And that's how bad she is, that even Kanks is like, she's a real psycho. Of course, he hired her immediately, and he'll probably never fire her, because being morally depraved is a prerequisite to work for an authoritarian. And because he has to elevate himself above everybody. And he likes to have all of these parasitic flea bags underneath him. And God,
has he found a treasure trove of flea bags.
Okay, I've got another review. This one is 5 stars, titled, You're Invited to the Fiesta. I'm sure I speak for every marginalized community member when I say thank you and welcome to the family. Being a Latina from California, I love diversity and culture, but the current administration has made that feel wrong. It calms me to know that there's support out there, even in the red states. Keep up the fight.
I mean, these messages, you guys, it makes me so happy that you get joy, but it makes me so sad about the dehumanization that is happening, and that, we're receiving messages where somebody's that's Latina, which is cool, which is awesome, saying, thank you for supporting me. And that should just be a given.
Right.
And so, I mean, you're welcome, and I will fight for all of us as long as I'm on this earth. But good God, America, this can't be the way.
No.
Demeaning immigrants. I mean, these are hardworking people. And a lot of now, when it comes to Latin culture, you're talking about, we're 5-6 generations deep in this. A girl that works for my interior design firm, she's a first generation American. Both of her parents were not born here, but she was. And my life and my business is inherently better having her perspective in it. When we've had to travel to job sites to Dallas or to other places, and the conversations we have about what her upbringing was like as a daughter of immigrants, and what my upbringing was like as a upper middle class American that grew up in white suburban America. I'm a better person for hearing her story. It makes me better.
Right.
It makes me have more gratitude. It makes me more empathetic. And to the white Christians that demean and diminish people that are not white, people whose families were immigrants, and people who are Black, and people who are gay, and people who are trans, I just think you're the most despicable part of our country. I think that when Biden called you trash, he was spot on. And I think when Hillary Clinton said you're a basket of deplorables, she was spot on, because it should just be a given to show kindness to your fellow Americans. Like we were raised being told the United States of America is a melting pot.
Right.
We embraced it.
That was good.
We embraced it.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, there are a million factors for this. But when you think about it, like you said, like bringing other people, hearing other languages, hearing other people's perspective, that's how you get better. That's how your perspective changes. And I feel like disagreement, like if you have political disagreements and discord, generally you hear a perspective that you don't have naturally, and you can look at it and objectively think, do I want to take that into account or do I not? And now we're in this place where everybody has to sit around the table of the cabinet and talk for 3 hours about dear leader. And our country is getting worse, objectively worse in every category, from economics to immigration. Like there is health, the dollar, every single metric is going down. And instead of having people that we can talk to and disagree with and get better, we're all sucking a man's dick that has makeup and cankles and cannot form a complete sentence or say acetaminophen. That's where we are.
Yeah. Or cryptologist. Remember that one? Cryptologist. And it's also like everything's eroded, but also the collective sense of humanity. That's the one I really grieve for, Pumps.
You're right.
You know, like my mother said she went to a Mexican restaurant the other day, and a guy was sitting in there wearing an alligator Alcatraz shirt on, in a restaurant owned and operated by immigrants, employing immigrants. That's on purpose. That is to show your supremacy.
Yeah.
The point of that is to be cruel. Buying it is the point of even having merch like that, is to be cruel. And that's the part that I really grieve, is seeing so many people, especially when you live in a red state, that are so quick to dehumanize and not have a sense of humanity for anybody else's struggle or any sense of decency. And they've wrapped it all up somehow in their weaponization of their faith, the bastardization of their faith. And they somehow think they're warriors and they're fighting some fucking imaginary war. And everything that they do and everything they say is the exact opposite of what the central character of the Bible was about. He spoke at length about wealth, and he was very much against the accumulation of wealth. He spoke about not praying in public. And then you look at Charlie Kirk's funeral. He didn't like overt religiosity.
Right.
He found it unattractive and inauthentic. Yet all of these mega church Bible thumpers with their hands up in the air and the tongue talking at the White House, the tongue talking that horrible, awful, lying piece of shit, hypocritical Christian Caroline Leavitt does before. It's all performative. It's all this performative shit. And you know, they're all fucking terrible people, because they sit there and we're all watching the mental decline and the physical decline of this 97-year-old man who can't speak, who rambles on, and they watch the decline. And they sit there and lie to everybody and lie to themselves and be like, oh, President Trump is so funny. Oh, he just cracks me up.
That's the thing. Sometimes I'll get on like MAGA Twitter or whatever, and I'll see that they're like laughing. They think he will say something that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And they think he's a ha-ha knee slapper. And I'm like, the president of the United States is not to be such an imbecile with such rampant idiocracy that it's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, here we are.
And one thing about you just said being on MAGA Twitter, here's the thing. Like, I have a Twitter account. It's locked because I don't tweet, because Twitter is not a safe place for women. It's just fucking awful. But I do like to look for up-to-date news for our other podcast. And I don't follow any right-wingers, but my feed, I only follow like news agencies and then some progressive-leaning commentators because I think they're really smart and I like their take on things. My feed ends up being 30% news, 30% the people I follow, and 70% vile MAGA shit because Elon Musk has rigged it as such.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Moving along, we have some news I would like to share with the class today. Number one, Gen Z women are deliberately dating ugly men. It's called shrekking. And the question is, could shrekking, like the character Shrek in the movie, could shrekking cure dating fatigue? So shrekking is a new term referring to the act of intentionally dating someone seen as less attractive than you in the hope that they will treat you better. It plays on the idea that many Gen Zers are struggling to find partners, whether that be in real life or online. Shrekking is technically a unisex term, but it's mainly women sharing their experiences online. Shrekking doesn't just have to be about looks. It can be based on intelligence, humor, or even earnings. Basically, it just means lowering your standards in the hope of opening up the pool of potential partners. With only 56% of Gen Z reporting having had a romantic relationship in their teens, that's a heartbreaker, compared to 78% of boomers, it might be time to accept that maybe there is an issue with dating. And now I would like to kick it to the co-host of my podcast, Pumps. I didn't know what you did when you married your first husband was shrekking.
I invented this.
You are a pioneer.
Trailblazer.
Tell Gen Z how it worked out.
Fucking terrible.
Tell them about these people set you on a blind date.
Okay.
And what you immediately thought about him.
Okay, I go on this blind date and I immediately thought he is so unattractive, not cute at all. His pants were like super starched, like standing up, could have walked across the room. Highly unattractive. And that's like when I was young and cute and I smoked cigarettes, and you could smoke in restaurants back in the day. And typically when I went out on a date, I didn't smoke in front of the date because, you know, I'm sure I smelled like it, but whatever. I mean, I immediately just put my purse on the table, threw that pack of cigarettes down, lit it up right there at the table because I was like, this is DOGUGLYNO.
That's dog ugly no, listener.
No, like immediately no. And in fact, I looked at my roommate and I went under where he couldn't see me when he picked me up, but she could see me. And I was doing that, like finger down the throat, like, okay. Fast forward. After the date, he doesn't call me for 2 weeks. So I have to immediately, because I kept saying, why would he not call me? I am 1,000 times cuter, 1,000 times more fun. Like he should be dying to go out with me again. So I would not have gone out with him, except I wanted to go out with him again and tell him how great I was to make sure he knew. And then who ended up getting fucked in that deal? Me.
You and all the other women he brought into your marriage. There was a lot of fucking going on in that deal.
Not between us.
But I mean, you are a pioneer of the shrekking.
Yeah.
When I saw that online, when I sent it to Kylie to load in for this episode, I was like, oh my God, we've been talking about what Pumps did for now 30 years.
Right.
And now we know what it is. You were the original shrekker.
I was.
So listen up, Gen Z.
Don't do it.
Do not do it.
Do not lower your standards.
Do not. If you get a red flag the first date, run. Okay. Moving along to the second story. This is really important right now because there are attacks on the LGBTQ plus community, while at the same time, Grindr outages in places where MAGA men are visiting. So this man right here, his name is John Polk, and he says it was a lie. John Polk, one of the nation's leading conversion therapy proponents, admits it was a lie. Today, I'm whole, a proud gay man, a loving dad, and a joyful grandpa. In 2013, Polk renounced conversion therapy as a fraud and apologized to the LGBTQ plus community. I lied to the people I preached to. but I was lying to myself the most. The truth, it doesn't work. It causes deep harm, shame, and despair. A 2022 study of nearly 200,000 LGBTQ plus people found those subjected to conversion efforts faced double the rates of severe psychological distress and suicide attempts. Pauk said, in 2013, I chose truth. I came out as a gay man, left the movement, and became a chief in Portland. Through years of therapy and heartfelt apologies, I began to heal. Today, I'm whole, a proud gay man, a loving dad, and a joyful grandpa. I am simply myself, whole, safe, secure, and loved. No more facades, just authenticity. To every LGBTQ plus person out there, you are enough. You don't need fixing. To parents, love your kids as they are. It's our duty to rewrite the narrative, a story of survival, joy, and unapologetic authenticity. Conversion therapy tried to break us, but we're here, thriving, learning, and living our truth.
Wow, good for him. I've seen an interview with him, and it's pretty profound. And every time I hear about Mike Johnson's wife and him doing the conversion therapy, it just reinforces the fact that they're trying desperately, in my opinion, not to act on their gay feelings. And it breaks my heart that people send their kids to that still today. I mean, it breaks my heart.
And it's going to escalate.
Oh, 1 million.
With what I saw at the Charlie Kirk funeral, that was all about Christian nationalism. And then at the exact same time, Grindr's experiencing outages. Mm-hmm. And so good on this man who was inside the Death Star to come out on the other side, to tell people it was a lie and I was a part of the problem, and then to just apologize.
Yeah.
To apologize to the community so that he could earn his way in it. And I think what people have to realize about the LGBTQ plus movement is their instinct, the gay men that I know, when they see really extreme closet cases, their first instinct is empathy, because they know the torment of the societal constructs that have been put around shaming them for who they are, from their parents, from their churches, etc. And then we're at a place right now where all gay men, we've talked about this in other podcasts, it's a universal experience, pervasive in America. If you're a gay man and you're on the apps, you're going to come across loads and loads and loads and loads of married MAGA men on Grindr. Yes. It is pervasive and ubiquitous on the app. And I don't know what to say other than what we've said in the past, which is I have so much empathy for this community. And the hellfire that is getting rained on them by the Trump administration is 95 million steps back.
Absolutely.
The celebration that I've seen online of when Kitten Hills in Florida painted over the gay pride memorial in front of Pulse nightclub, and these right-wingers celebrating that is such a step back. But we have to keep fighting. We've made it to a place where this man felt safe enough to come outside of the Death Star, to make amends, and to now live his truth and share those beautiful words of accountability, of acceptance, of forgiveness, all of those things. And so I just think it's going to be incredibly important as we get through this fascism that we leave no one behind. And oftentimes the top people that are marginalized right now are trans people. Yeah. And I know that there are so many trans listeners out there and so many trans Americans. And I just want to say, first and foremost, we love you. And secondly, stay strong and stay true to yourselves, because none of this is going to age well. I know it's hard. I know you probably feel paranoid and terrified and scared. And I can't imagine the calculation you must make if you walk outside in some red state of these gun nuts running around. But it's just, I think it's super important that the Democratic Party, independents, that we acknowledge we cannot marginalize any group. You can't do it. You have to fight for everybody's right to be who they are.
Absolutely. And that's very well said. And I think it's so important, especially now that the left is blaming gun violence on trans people, even though numerically and by the data, that is just absolute horseshit. But they're going to be under attack more than ever before, and it's wrong. And, you know, whatever anybody can do to help love these people, because they deserve it and they need it.
And not only love these people, but call out transphobia in real time.
Yep.
If you are at a place and somebody says something about these pronouns or these trans people, call them out. Call them out immediately, swiftly, and quickly to their face. Because what the government is saying right now is they are saying that trans people are terrorists. And nothing is further from the truth.
Right.
The fact of the matter is trans people are not terrorists. Trans people are being terrorized by closeted demon queens who, in their spare time, the number one hotbed of Googling trans porn is Lawton, Oklahoma. And then you just sweep right through the Bible Belt. Yep. So the most important thing, because this news cycle is just run amok cruelty, the most important thing we can do in real time is call people out that know us and that we know them. And I recently did it. A guy was showing me his coffee cup and that he had been to Starbucks and he had them put Charlie Kirk on it. And I looked him in the face and I said, why are you honoring a racist? I condemn gun violence. I condemn violence, period. But why are you honoring a racist and showing that to me with a shit-eating grin on your face? Fuck you. And I made him as uncomfortable as all get out. And of course, like all cowards do, he couldn't defend his position. He tucked and rolled and ran away from me. This is a white man who was born with a trust fund that's never had to work in a day in his life, that just oozes privilege, who thought it was going to be funny to walk up to the liberal podcaster to poke the bear. And I poked right back, and I poked back 1,000,000 times harder. And like all cowards, he tucked and rolled and then went away, because this man has never been vulnerable a day in his life. And it was my job, when he decided to try to poke the bear with me and tell me that he supports an unrepentant racist, homophobe, and sexist, that I wasn't okay with that I didn't think it was cute. I didn't think it was neat. I didn't think it was funny. And I wanted him to know the following words: fuck you. And so on a person-to-person basis, the people in your lives that try to say anti-immigrant messaging, anti-trans messaging, anti-gay messaging, just straight up racist shit that we've all heard our entire lives, and white people, you know it. You know it. Call them out to their faces in real time. They will not defend their position. They tuck and roll away, but maybe, just maybe, it makes them think.
That's what, yeah. And I think that's the best you can hope for, is that it will crack and they will think. And having been inside the indoctrination, little things over time do crack through. So even if you don't feel like your effort's making a difference on that day, you just don't know what the future holds.